Let me do this right quick, but just to make sure my feelings. I think I've already kind of expressed it, but the thing is, China has won the propaganda battle. China and Russia, arguably, are the winners of this battle of systems. They have shown that statism, and they have shown that a strong sense of nationalism has overcome the free market system. Period. There's no question. Now, how effective China actually is outside of Wuhan is a matter of opinion. But nonetheless, is it, CGTN, CCTV, Xinhua News Network, and all the other outlets have very much shown how strong they were in their resolve. They've shown that the CCP's resolve in fighting the coronavirus. Now, of course, people, there are going to be coping people who are going to say, but the dissident doctors and the dissident people who are making videos, those people are dead. They're dead. That's just a reality. If they are not dead, then they are certainly on their way to it. China has shown that they are the new winner. That's reality. And the United States copes. We cannot even get enough masks for everybody. So in the propaganda war, China has won. Russia have won. Even Cuba has won. Their medical system, of course, and their doctors that go all across the world, including recently Italia. Same thing as, China has sent folks, Russia has sent folks. It's clear as day that's what's happened. I just figured out I misspelled kingdom, excuse me. And I capitalized kingdom, but I didn't capitalize middle. So I'll just, anyway, little anal retentive thing. But that's the reality, is China has won. We have to wave the white flag. I think America will hold on. That is the cold reality. America will hold on to its power. They are trying, that the United States is trying to turn this against China and trying to continue to use this as a way to, control Iran. And it's failing. The idea that, the United States created the coronavirus, or at least COVID-19, is growing. This is going to be the, the UN or the United States created Ebola, or the United States created AIDS. That is going to be the new era. And there's going to be plenty of that that's going to come out. It's already coming out. There's no doubt in my mind. It's already happening. For me, let me just say this for the record once again. Is I may be an American because it's all I know. But I know that this country is falling apart. I realize that. And if you don't think that, then I don't know what world you are living in. Now, the thing is that we've seen that China has shown a much more soft power, but also showing that they are prideful, that they are no longer, the sick man of Asia, as they were once known. They are no longer that person, And but they are also displaying their Chinese nationalism. So they will show the strength of it. And we will see how far this goes. Like I say, is that China has done very well in their advertising and their propaganda. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but their advertising and their propaganda and their public relations have all been on point. They have shown everyone, it's like, they've been building these hospitals and everything like that. And look, you can cope all day. We can all cope in the United States and say, oh, those hospitals aren't real. And you can cope all day. It's not going to help you. The world has been convinced already that you can show all the video that you want to against them and say, look at what they've done to the people. And, look at them beating people up and cracking heads and everything and shaming people. Yeah, fine. But the thing is, the reality is that people say, maybe a bit of authoritarianism will be good. The United States simply does not have the capacity to do anything. We don't. We don't have the capacity for it. We would rather, let the market handle it. We have surrendered ourselves to capitalism completely. And capitalism, as we know, took away all those jobs and took away all those places that were, making masks and were, could have, made more respirators, even, 3D printing, of course. We're not even going to allow that because that would go against, they don't want to pay the money. So this is where we are at, folks. This is where we are at. People have made their comparisons. They're going to continue to promote their narratives. And for the most of us, we're just going to sit back. And we're going to be wishing for some form of heavy-handed power. Some coercive power, some sort of normalcy, some sort of, can the government actually do something about this? And it shows that we have surrendered to corporations. We have surrendered to the market. Surrender, surrender, do. Daddy's all right, mommy's all right. You know the song. But anyway, we have surrendered. Like I say, the United States will continue on with its wars in, fighting Syria, fighting against Iran. We'll continue to do that until, countries in Europe finally grow a backbone and they finally decide, America, get the hell out. Get out. When Japan finally rises up and says, get out. When Korea says, get out. Or when African countries finally say, hey, special forces guys, get out. Or whoever you want to choose. Until that day, bazinga. But, we shall see, won't we? We shall see. What keeps this country still together? That's what you have to ask. You can talk about the Interstate Commerce Clause of Congress all you want to, but I can say that, yeah, okay, that gives them the authority, but who gives them that authority? There's only so many military units out there. You have to think about that. There's only so many military units that are around. There are only so many that are prepared to do that. Just as I was reading about the Hungarian Revolution briefly in a book that, doesn't really describe that much in detail, but we saw Paul Melletta, a colonel in the Hungarian army, turn to the protesters. Of course, people can disagree, and I'm sure Hungarians will eventually see that video and say, that's not true, Hungarians were against it. It's all, it was just, it was like the Tiananmen Square incident. It was all rich kids and everything else. Fine. If you want to believe that, okay. I'm not going to sit here and disagree with you. But the thing is that we're all going to have to see where the cookie crumbles. I've repeated this over and over. And we're going to have to see what the next stage is. Texas, as far as I know, according to Governor Greg Abbott, we've locked down. We can no longer go on the local Air Force base. That's all been locked down, where most of the cases actually came from in our county. But also, any sort of travel coming from, Florida or Louisiana or Oklahoma, they shut that down. And we're getting into the summer, folks. We're getting into the heat. It was, what was it? I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. The heat. That sun was out, and man, it was probably up in the 80s or the 90s, but it was a wake-up call for people. It's like, time to get the ACs running, time to get this and that. The HVAC boys were running around. It's going to, the temperature is literally rising now. I keep on using that phrase, but that's just the truth. And so we're going to see what this is going to be. We're going to see. And all I can tell you is, folks, is just try to be reasonable. Watch and wait to see what happens. And don't believe everything that comes out of somebody's mouth. Don't believe what comes out of a cop's mouth. Don't believe what's going to come out of some sergeant, from some, Army unit or some Marine unit. Don't believe what comes out of their mouth. Not completely. Don't believe what comes out of some potential revolutionary's mouth either. Don't believe what they say. You do what feels right for you. If you want to trust them, by golly, you do it. If you don't trust them. I'm going to continue to say that. And we're all Americans by birth. But at the end of the day, we all know that ultimately the real anthem of America is every man for themselves. Every man, woman, transgender, NB, or whatever sort of horse shit is out there. It's all up to you to make your own choices. That's the whole idea, is that this country was built on individualism, or at least it preached it. There were times here and there where we kind of had some sort of, at least the illusion that we were a collective society, but we never were. Corporations were were still backstabbing, and they were still backbiting each other. It always happens. And then what do? And then what do these leaders do? They then grow a moral backbone, and they They suddenly start waving the flag and say, we need to have unity. We need to, look at this horrible white supremacist system. And they look in the mirror, man, you as much of a cracker as I am. What are you doing? And what do? They retire and they have, they live in a gated community. That's the whole idea of co-option. All these folks that will talk about, they want to do this and, we should do this for a country. And this country is a facade. The only question I really ask is, where are the borders going to be? Where are the new borders going to be? Who's going to take what? That's the only questions you need to ask, folks, in my opinion. In the next, I would say 20 to 30 years. I mean, that's being very generous. Let's say even 10 or 15 years. Those are the questions you need to ask. Where are the borders going to be? Who's going to start taking over? And what are they promising? And there are a whole multitude of other questions you can think of. How will trade be set up, this and that? But those are the only questions you need to ask. The next president of the United States does not have the backbone to institute anything even remotely socialistic or providing some sort of aid to people. They don't have it. There is nobody in Congress who fully has the backbone. I don't care what people like AOC say. Her campaign was funded by millionaires, just the same as any politician. This country will just get broker and broker. The infrastructure will continue to fall apart, and people will still argue about bathrooms and still argue about whatever type of thing, about health care. I mean, overall to me, I don't really care about healthcare, if I'm being honest. I really don't care about it, be honest with you. Why would you want to be in a hospital anyway? Why would you want to, it's depressing being in the hospital. Why would you, it's like, yeah, I get, it's like, okay, you want to have it, free or whatever the case may be. Okay. But it's like, it's a much deeper issue than that. How are you going to pay the doctors? Doctors are going to fight you. How are they, these are all owned by corporations. And you're going to have to break these corporations up. It's not going to be as easy as you think. How are you going to keep order? All the multitude. Literally, you could fill this whole utility room, which is probably, I don't know, maybe not 1,000. I would say maybe about 300 or 400 square feet. That's being generous. Maybe 100. Maybe 100. But anyway, I could fill this whole utility room with questions that we're going to have. But like I say, find out where the borders are going to be. Keep your strap. If you got a gun, keep it. Don't let them take it. Don't fall into the Australian trap. Don't fall into whoever's trap. Carry that gun. Don't let anybody tell you any differently. Because these shit-lib cowards, well, not even shit-libs, just these coward-ass motherfuckers who are like, oh, too many people get shot by guns. You don't want to talk about the real fucking issue. The fucking issue is that people are losing their jobs because of AI. They get depressed, so they take drugs. So they're, snorting. Well, they don't snort anymore, do they? I'm saying that they're taking meth. They're popping Xannies. They're doing all sorts of shit. But no one's going to talk about that. Instead, people are going to be working bullshit jobs for express employment or whichever temp job is out there, and you may be lucky and make enough to pay rent that month. It's just going to keep getting worse. All right. I can't speak for the rest of the world. I can't speak for China. I can't speak for Russia. Ultimately, I'm not going to sit here and bootlick them. I'm also not going to denounce them too much, because guess what? I still try to have the attitude of isolationism of it's their country. China's going to do what it's going to do. Russia's going to do what it's going to do. I'm not going to completely listen to folks that have their own agenda and say, oh, more Uyghurs, or oh, the Belt and Road Initiative, or oh, Ukraine. I don't care, ultimately. Worry about what's going on with you. People study about Syria and all this other stuff, ultimately because they don't want to deal with the shit around them. All right? I'll speak from personal experience. That's what it is. You want to see what's going on with someone else. That's why people stand Assad today, because there's nothing here to stand right now. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing. We see that, Jimmy Dore has already said, fuck Bernie. We're seeing these folks slowly realizing that Bernie is no different than any of the rest of them. You think AOC, whenever she's old enough and she tries to run for president, because you know damn well she will, you think that she's gonna you think she's gonna be, this progressive lady who's gonna... No. And blame the conservatives too, and blame the Republicans. Please, go ahead. Blame Turtle Man, Mitch McConnell, Cocaine Mitch, whatever you want to call him. Go ahead and blame him. Go ahead and blame people like Ted Cruz. Go ahead and blame people like, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick here in Texas. Go ahead. Blame all of them. But the thing is, we're too pussy. We're still too pussy right now, because guess what? There's still enough. We can still get enough cheap shit so that we don't have to worry about it. We can still get our cheap games. We can still, get our free porn. We can still get our other shit. So that's why. And this is what people are pushing for with accelerationism. They want it to get worse, so that ultimately it'll overthrow the system. And it's going to be different wherever you go. I've said this before. I'll try to finish this up. I'm just going on a long rant. I'm sorry. But, it's going to be different in Texas. It's going to be different in Washington State. It's going to be different in Florida or in Montana or wherever the case may be. There are going to be vast areas that are going to be, and I've said this in tweets, I'm going to say it here, it'd be autistic, but that are going to be like the Byzantine Empire, where it seems unchanged. The American flag is still going to be waving. And as we kind of read a little bit from Ernst Röhm, and we're going to continue on with chapter 2, hopefully tomorrow after I wake up. So it's probably going to be like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but nonetheless, just to let y'all know. We've seen how these workers' councils were, and how people were opportunists. We saw how that general decided to just kiss butt, but he wanted to still have his privilege. We saw that. And we saw how this potential, we saw the failed Bavarian Socialist Republic failed. Because basically they didn't disarm the military. They tried to keep them in check. Like I said, the United States is a vast, vast country. And, a large amount of differences. It's going to be a unique challenge for everybody. And for the most part, it's going to be right-wing conservatism for everybody. And it's not going to be this fake-ass conservative that's out there right now that preaches about, it's okay to have gay folks in the military and, my free market and all this fake-ass libertarian shit. No, it's going to be, you're going to go to this one church and you better show up. And it's going to be one of these things where, hey, if you steal a grain of rice, we're going to hang you or we're going to shoot you. If you're queer, we're going to kill you. All that, this is, we've all seen documentaries. We it's like, for me, I remember the old, the 2012 documentaries from the History Channel about how bad it was. And History Channel done fucked up, man. I'm telling you. But anyway, man, all I can tell y'all, like I say, I'm just going to repeat myself one more time, is that you're going to really have to use your instincts and your wits. Learn body language. Learn about, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably fucking is. So take that with a grain of salt, man. Because it's going to get crazier. It's going to get more wild. People are going to be wilding out more. I'm sure that people are wilding out right now as we speak in this country. And it's going to hit us. Once April comes along, once May comes along, man, it's going to get messy. It's going to get ugly, baby. And we're going to see China continue on. They are going to be the winners. Same thing with Russia. I'd say China and Russia is pretty close. It's neck and neck right now in terms of who has won the propaganda war. Like I say, even Cuba. Cuba is up there as well. I would give them, if we wanted to name it, if we wanted to have a ranking system, China would be number 1, Russia would be number 2, and Cuba would be number 3. That's what we've noticed so far. DPRK isn't even on the list. They're just shutting down. They're like, man, fuck all y'all. That's the reality. But that's good for them. They don't have the same infrastructure that they did. They don't have the same supplies that they did. You have to remember, the DPRK helped a lot of African revolutions, same thing as Cuba. But they didn't have, it's a different thing now. Now that they've imposed more juche, they're like, man, we're shutting down. Nobody's coming into this motherfucker. We ain't messing with nobody. So chunk up the deuce. We good, baby. You know what I'm saying? And, this country, like I say, man, is just going to get worse. People are going to start dying. Oh my gosh, the Vice documentary is going to come out. Oh, it's going to be ugly. Everybody's going to have a private documentary. People are going to try to sue and everything else like that. They're going to become expats, and they're going to release a documentary in France or in China maybe, or Russia. They're going to release it. They're going to be like, Edward Snowden. Interesting thread I was reading on Twitter. It's like Edward Snowden was with the NSA and the CIA, and it makes more sense is that, there's the beef with the NSA and the CIA. It's like, why didn't you research the stuff about Trump when you were a CIA agent? It's just like, and it makes a lot of sense that the NSA and the CIA have this type of beef. It's interesting to think about. I think it's Loki. I can't think of his @ right now, but y'all know, if you've been on Twitter, you know the standard right-wing Twitter dudes and let's just say the leaders of the right-wing, right-wing Twitter. So anyway, I think I'll keep it there. Apologies for the language and everything, but hey, God, man, it's going to get worse. Like I say, I've got the Russian MREs. I'm going to try not to eat all of them. I got some American MREs, so I got about like 26 or 27 MREs. So, I'm good, baby. I'm good, baby. So, as long as YouTube's still going, then it's whatever to me at this point. I've been really on a kick for watching these documentaries on the NBA, and been watching First Take on YouTube, and seeing all these clips and everything. I'm just fascinated as hell by it. I don't know why, but I was never good at basketball, or any sports really. But anyway, just giving y'all a little bit of background. Anyway, I think I'll end it there. Hopefully y'all enjoy this long ass rant. Like I say, part 3 is going to be coming out. We're going to be reading chapter 2 about Ernst Röhm and his time in the Bavarian Freikorps. And I'm sure it's not going to be pretty. So we're going to see how that looks. So as always, man, y'all just try to survive, and just, watch out, man. It's going to get crazy. One last thing before I do this is that I saw that bootlicker, Justin King. It's been a little bit of time. I haven't mentioned him, but I saw that old bootlicker, Justin King, talking about the military, saying they're not here to, they're not going to take your guns. They're, these are just, these are just, civil engineers. These are just, shut up. Ah, damn. What sort of anarchist are you where you bootlick the military? It's just, if you've watched his videos, it's Beau the Fifth Column, dude. Absolute bootlicking ass dude. I'm just like, bruh, are you really gonna? God damn. And of course, he's, friends with journalists and everything. When you say you're friends with journalists, you've lost my respect. I can respect journalists to a point, but I know ultimately that they are part of their own class. Anyway, I'll keep it there. I wanted to just rant that out for a minute because I can't stand bootlicking ass dudes like that. It's like, if you're going to be a bootlicker, be a freaking bootlicker. But don't hide behind anarchism and then the U.S. military should be supporting, and they, the U.S. military supported the Kurds. Fuck off. Fuck all the way off. Oh, okay. I'm done. See ya. Goodbye.